Hi, my name's Samantha Kimmey,
And my name's Amanda Rogerson,
and this is the May edition of Louisville Linked.
and we're here today to talk to you about lobbying, specifically 501c3 charitable organizations lobbying. We've chosen to talk about this today because we recognize that a lot of 501c3 nonprofits either think that they can't lobby or that they're extremely limited in the lobbying activities that they can partake in. And this is not entirely true, so we wanted to dispel some of the myths around lobbying for the nonprofit community.
So first we need to define what lobbying is. So lobbying is classified as communication that's intended to influence a specific piece of legislation. And this can take a few forms. Direct lobbying is when an organization talks to legislators or staffers, in order to influence that legislation, while grassroots lobbying is when an organization encourages the public to do so.
Mm-hmm. And that's either the creation or the realization of that legislation.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot that can sort of be constituted as lobbying. And the reason a lot of nonprofits don't think that they can lobby is because of what's called the insubstantial part test, which has been in effect since 1934. And basically what it says is that a 501c3 nonprofit can't spend a substantial amount of its time, money, its activities in essence, lobbying. And so a lot of nonprofits feel very constrained, not only because they don't want to spend a substantial amount of time lobbying, but because this law is extremely vague. What is a substantial amount? No one really knows. It's kind of up to the IRS should you get audited. So that puts sort of that scares a lot of nonprofits, shall we say. So we wanted to let you know that there actually is another way you can go as a 501c3, and that is to elect 501h status. And you've been able to do this since 1976, and it's really simple to do. You fill out a one-page form, which basically has your basic contact information and a signature at the bottom. And once you've done this, not only have you expanded the amount of lobbying you can do, but you've also clarified a lot of the rules under which you lobby, so it's much easier for you to stay in good stead with the IRS and within the confines of the law. And the limits for 501h status are pretty generous. What it basically means is that you can't spend more than 20% of your exempt purpose expenditures of the first $500,000 your organization has, and then after that it starts to go down. So the next 15% of the next 500,000, 10% of the following 500,000, and 5% of the following 500,000. And basically what this means is that unless you're an organization that is a $17 million organization or greater, you're not going to hit the $1 million limit that 501c3s can spend on lobbying. So it's actually a substantial amount of money that you can spend on lobbying, and it really sort of frees you up to do the work and to educate legislators and to help influence the legislation that you think is important for your organization and for the folks that you serve.
So in addition to the clarity that Amanda's talked about that 501h status offers, it also offers additional benefits. For instance, there are no limits to the lobbying activities that an organization undertakes that don't take any money. For instance, if volunteers on your organization's behalf lobby, that does not count for the expenditure test because it doesn't cost money. In addition, electing 501h status protects the managers of your organization. Under the insubstantial part test, if an organization if an organization exceeds the insubstantial part, the managers of the organization can be held accountable and can be punished. However, under the 501h designation, even if you exceed those amounts that Amanda talked about, the managers of the organization as individuals cannot be held accountable. And finally, electing 501h status is all in all better because under the old rules, if your organization exceeded those expenditures or using a substantial part for just 1 year, they could lose their 501c3 status. However, under the 501h designation, an organization has to exceed those expenditures for 4 years in a row before their 501c3 designation can be taken away.
Mm-hmm. Or within a 4-year period.
Within a 4-year period.
It's a little bit vague, but it's much clearer than don't spend a substantial
Right.
amount of time or energy lobbying. And the other thing we just wanted to bring up was a lot of organizations fear lobbying because they think that it means that private foundations won't be able to give them money. Foundations also sometimes don't want to give money to organizations that spend a substantial amount of time lobbying because they think that they're going to be in violation of some sort of IRS code. And the reality is that private foundations can give money to folks that lobby, excuse me, to organizations that lobby. And the only thing that they can't do is they can't earmark money for lobbying. So they can give an organization a grant for a project, and if part of that project includes lobbying, that's fine. They can't give an organization money and say, you have to use this for lobbying. It's a little bit different for community foundations. Community foundations actually can earmark money for lobbying. They just then have to report it as a personal, as the foundation's lobbying expense when they go to report to the IRS. So there's actually very broad limits also for foundations and for foundation giving. So organizations and foundations shouldn't be scared by that.
That's our edition of Louisville Link. We hope you enjoyed, and we hope we've dispelled all the myths that are out there about 501c3 lobbying. And we hope that you decide to take up the 501h status and use it to the best of your ability.
Mm-hmm. And if you'd like more information, a great resource is to the
The Alliance.
The Alliance.
What is it called again?
Well, the Alliance for Justice.
The Alliance for Justice, yes.
Which is www.afj.org. And they actually have a hotline that you can call with any lobbying questions that you might have. And it's 1-866-NP-LOBBY.
So call it.
All right, take care.